The Wolf's Bride Chapter 1. You little B** starred. I don't care what Wolf King you are in some western frontline. You have to go to Samaria and marry the daughter of the Crestfalls, Luna. Her grandpa saved me 10 years ago and I've promised him that you will marry her. The half-piece of jade is a token for the marriage. I have also written the Crestfalls address on the letter and included Luna's picture and contact number. You'd better go there to marry the girl. If you don't bring back a healthy grandson to me next year, I will kick your ass in front of your men. Looking at the crumpled letter in his hand, Andrius did not know whether to laugh or cry. He was on a plane when he read the letter his master sent him. His master, old Hagstorm, was the only man in the entire Florence to have the nerve to kick the Wolf King in front of his men, the lycanthropes. Andrius was an orphan. He was abandoned by his biological parents while he was still in his cradle. As he floated downstream on a rapid river, old Hagstorm saw him and fished him up. The boy was brought back to Tiger Hill and trained as old Hagstorm's only disciple. Old Hagstorm treated him as his own son and taught the boy everything he knew. After 18 years of unwavering determination and training, Andrius became a multi-talented man. When war broke out at the western frontline, Andrius was drafted and sent to the frontline to serve his country. His iron fists destroyed the enemy's arrogance as he charged into 1,000,000 enemy troops alone and single-handedly beheaded the enemy's leader. After the battle that made him famous, he continued to serve his country for the next 10 years. With his unwavering hard work, he founded the most elite troops in the entire country, the lycanthropes. 1,000,000 lycanthropes were stationed at the border to defend the country. Andrius was then granted the title of Wolf King. Little did he know that when he returned from the frontline, his master would set him up with a woman. He rubbed his temples, his stern-looking face smeared with helplessness. His stubborn master was a strange person with a temper. Once the old man decided on something, nothing could change his mind. Since the old man had arranged for this marriage, he had to obey orders and marry Luna Crestfall in Samaria. 3 hours later, the plane landed at the central airport of Samaria. Andrius greedily inhaled as soon as he set foot on the ground. The air here is a lot better than the blood-filled air back at the border. When he walked out of the arrival gate, he saw a large crowd outside the airport, looking inside eagerly. The people learned that someone important was coming to Samaria, hence they gathered outside the airport, hoping for a glance of the person. Unfortunately, they could not even get close to the airport because it was sealed off by the military. Many soldiers equipped with live rounds were stationed at the entrance to maintain order. Even the richest man in the city was declined entry. Andrius scanned around and finally spotted a familiar figure, the mayor of Samaria, Marcus Freely. Marcus spotted Andrius as soon as the man stepped out of the arrival gate. He bowed solemnly and said with the utmost respect, "Wolf King." Andrius smiled. "Marcus, it's been 3 years since we saw each other. How's your recovery going? Thank you for your concern, Wolf King. I am fine now." Marcus respected the young Wolf King wholeheartedly because he owed the young man his life. Back then, Marcus had just been a captain serving the western frontline. The battalion that he led was ambushed by enemy forces while carrying out an assignment. When the young Wolf King received news about the ambush, he personally led a company of soldiers to retrieve the dying Marcus from the battlefield, saving his life. After that, Marcus was discharged due to his injuries. He then moved back to Samaria and was elected as mayor. Knowing that the Wolf King would visit Samaria, Marcus sealed off the airport just to welcome him. "Wolf King, let's get into the car." Marcus opened the door of a Rolls-Royce and gestured, inviting Andrius in. His action stunned the crowd outside the airport. Am I seeing this right? Mayor Freely sealed off the airport just to welcome a young man. Our Mayor Freely always thought highly of himself, yet he welcomed the young man with such respect. That guy's definitely some big shot. Is he some young master from a famous family from the capital? Under countless pairs of curious eyes, Andrius entered the Rolls-Royce. Marcus bowed and said respectfully, "Wolf King, I have prepared a feast to welcome your arrival. I will bring you, it's okay." Andrius shook his hand, stopping Marcus. "Marcus, can you drive me to Long Island Cafe?" "Sir, why are you going there?" "An arranged marriage." Andrius facepalmed himself, covering his helplessness. Marcus's eyes flickered as he was baffled. What, the Wolf King that led 1,000,000 lycanthropes into war, the man who enjoyed the highest level of power and authority, and had an endless amount of wealth was forced into an arranged marriage? Marcus could not accept what he heard. However, he followed orders and drove Andrius to Long Island Cafe. Long Island Cafe was located in the city center, where every inch of land was worth a piece of gold bar. Life expenses in the city center were unsurprisingly high. Those who could afford to spend here were no commoners. A woman in a tailored white dress and a voluptuous figure waited at a table in the cafe. Her charming eyes emanated a frosty presence as she stared outside the window. The sunlight shone through the window, highlighting her long hair that draped on her shoulders. She was like a deity from the heavens with a charming presence. The woman had looks, a good temperament, and wealth, a perfect woman in every aspect. She was no other than Luna of the Crestfalls. Andrius compared her with the picture in his hand before he went over. Noticing a man approaching, Luna lifted her chin and sized Andrius up with an arrogant gaze before asking, "Are you Andrius Moonshade?" "I am." Andrius nodded. "Where's the token?" Luna sounded frosty. It felt like she was trying to push Andrius away. Andrius revealed the half-piece of jade and placed it on the table. Luna picked it up for a closer inspection before she put it back down. She said emotionlessly, "Let's cut to the chase. I've gone through your particulars. You've lived in the mountains forever and you are poor. I am the daughter of the Crestfalls, the CEO of New Moon Corporation. I am out of your league." Luna looked frosty and disdainful. She was the goddess CEO of New Moon Corporation in Samaria. She was not in the same world as the poor man before her eyes, yet her grandfather forced her to marry him. Why? Andrius was stunned. The Wolf King that was highly sought after by many royalties and nobles as a husband for their daughters somehow became a poor man in the woman's words. Luna took Andrew's silence as a realization of the difference in their identities and statuses. The disdain in her eyes grew stronger. I don't know why my grandfather wants me to marry you, but we are not from the same world. I'm not going to marry you. Quote. The Wolf's Bride Chapter 2. Andrews simply laughed it off. He was under his master's order to repay the debt by marrying the woman. He had no objection to Luna's refusal to marry since she was the other party involved. He, too, was forced to be here. Luna added a slight compassion into her tone when she noticed Andrews' silence. I know calling off the marriage is a huge blow to you, but you have to know the difference between us. We shouldn't even cross paths at first. If you can suggest canceling the marriage in front of my grandfather, I will pay you handsomely under the table so that you won't have to worry about the rest of your life. You can marry whomever you want in the mountains and live like a king there. Just leave me alone. But, Luna paused. Her delicate face showed a brazen hint of frostiness. Her tone turned cold as she continued, if you decided to use my grandfather against me and force me to obey your will, I will ruin your life. Threats. Brazen threats in the face of the Wolf King. Andrews was somewhat unhappy with her words. He, the Wolf King, had reigned for more than 10 years now in the Western Frontline. Even the enemy's generals were horrified when his name was mentioned. Yet he was being threatened by a woman. Fine. The woman's grandfather was his master's savior after all. Andrews inhaled deeply and answered calmly, deal. Luna's frosty expression eased when she heard Andrews's decisive answer. She praised the man in her heart for being self-aware. She put on her sunglasses, picked up her expensive purse, and got up from her seat. Let's go see my grandfather now. Remember, you are going to be the one who rejects this arrangement. The two of them strode out of the cafe. Luna's presence turned heads as soon as she walked out. A goddess walking among mortals was a rare scene indeed. As for Andrews, who wore a jersey and pants, he was ignored completely. Outside the cafe, a fiery red Ferrari was parked. Luna opened the door, further sealing her image as a goddess in front of the people. Get in, Luna said before she got into the driver's seat. After Andrews got into the passenger's seat, Luna reminded him once again, remember, you are going to tell my grandfather that you want to call off the arranged marriage. Don't mess it up. Ring. The sudden ringtone interrupted Luna. She answered it immediately, but the conversation put an anxious look on her beautiful face. Okay, I'm coming back right away. Luna hung up the phone and stepped on the accelerator. The sudden thrust pinned Andrews on the seat. He frowned and asked, Ms. Crestfall, what happened? Luna remained silent. The silent journey brought Andrews to the Crestfall Manor's entrance. Luna then said to him, my grandfather's condition relapsed. When you go in later, don't utter a word. The two of them entered the manor. Through a crooked and long corridor, they arrived at a spacious room. In the center of the room were three middle-aged men. They were the three sons of Belarus, Harry, George, and Dick. The three of them surrounded a sandalwood bed, and on the bed was an elderly, twitching ceaselessly. It was Belarus, the master of the house. Beside Belarus was another white-haired elderly, looking professional and profound with the medical equipment by his side. Luna went up to Harry nervously. Dad, how's grandfather doing? Harry sighed. Fortunately Drive, Artemis is here. He's doing his best to keep your grandfather's condition under control. Before he could finish, the man spotted Andrews behind Luna. He frowned and asked, Luna, who is he? Luna glanced at Andrews and said scornfully, Dad, he's the man whom grandfather mentioned. It's him. The disdain in Harry's eyes was visible. When he learned that his father wanted to betroth his daughter to a man named Andrews, he had sent his men to run background checks on Andrews. A poor young man living in the mountains wanted to marry his precious princess. Impossible. Andrews was not bothered by the unwelcoming look on Harry's face. Instead, he was looking at Drive. Artemis. Doctor. Artemis was a famous doctor known for his experience and methods. He used to travel around the world and practiced all kinds of medicinal methods that worked wonders on his patients, hence his prestigious title. He was using acupuncture, a method that he practiced for more than a decade while traveling abroad, on Master Crestfall. The method indeed worked wonders, but he was using it wrongly and was making Master Crestfall's condition worse. Doctor. Artemis pulled out a long silver needle that was as thin as a strand of hair and aimed it at Master Crestfall's crown. Andrews suddenly said, if you do that, Master Crestfall won't live long. His words startled and stunned everyone present. Doctor. Artemis's hand froze. He turned to Andrews in anger and bellowed, Fool! Who gave you the courage to question my medical skills? I'm telling the truth. What courage do I need? Andrews further explained, Master Crestfall's blood circulation is weakening because of the bloating of his veins. If you poke the needle into his head, it will gather the flow of blood at a certain point, causing the veins to burst. Nonsense. Doctor, Artemis bellowed, what nonsense are you spewing? How dare you act like a fool in front of me? Are you saying that my medical skills are not as good as yours? Doctor, Artemis, please calm down. Harry quickly calmed the man down. He then growled at Andrews, kid, drive. Artemis is the best doctor here in Samaria. His patients can line up to the next city just to get his consultation. What right and qualifications do you have to comment on his methods? Andrews shrugged and said calmly, I'm just giving a friendly reminder. It's up to you whether to believe me or not. Don't regret not taking my advice later. Shut up, someone, please get this impudent fool out of the manor. Harry shouted. Hold on, doctor, Artemis said as he waved at Harry. Since he thinks that he's better than me, why not let him stay and watch how I cure Master Crestfall? HMPH, Harry grunted. Since it was Dr. Artemis's request, he simply allowed it. Otherwise, he would have kicked the impudent fool out himself. Andrews was not interested in arguing with Harry. He leaned against the door frame and watched drive. Artemis continue the acupuncture treatment. Dr. Artemis picked up the needle once more, heated it with fire, and poked it into Master Crestfall's crown. Oof! As the needle entered the head, Master Crestfall grunted softly and his body stopped twitching. The pale look on his face was soon replaced by a healthy one. Oh, my God, Doctor, Artemis is amazing. Of course, we all know how drive Artemis is, unlike someone who's trying to make a fool of himself in front of the others. Dr. Artemis stroked his white beard indifferently as he was being showered by praises. He barely showed any reaction because he had grown numb of praises after saving countless lives throughout his career. He then looked back at Andrews. Kid, what else do you have to say for yourself? Andrews glanced at drive Artemis before he put his hand out with all 5 of his fingers fanned out. This is how long Master Crestfall has left. 5 days. Dr. Artemis was surprised. He roared, you fool. You are simply trying to play to the gallery. I have cured Master Crestfall with my acupuncture method. Master Crestfall will recover completely with some extra medicine and rest. What gave you the courage to spew nonsense? Andrews ignored drive Artemis and started closing his fingers one by one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Wolf's Bride Chapter 3. A countdown. What did it mean? The Crestfalls and Dr. Artemis looked at Andrews in confusion. At the next second, someone said, Look at Master Crestfall. Everyone turned around. Master Crestfall's body twitched violently again and black blood spewed from his mouth. After spewing a few mouthfuls of blood, his face turned ghastly pale immediately. He fell onto the teak wood bed and lost consciousness. The Crestfalls were frightened. They cried, Drive, Artemis, hurry up and check on Master Crestfall. Let me have a look. Dr. Artemis immediately checked on Master Crestfall's condition and performed all the necessary procedures to save the man. However, no matter how many more needles he poked into Master Crestfall, it did not reverse the condition. Instead, the needles started to mess up Master Crestfall's blood circulation, causing black blood to seep from his nose. Dr. Artemis grew so anxious that he sweated profusely and paled. He realized he had made a terrible mistake. Consequently, his name and reputation would be ruined, and his mistake would claim Master Crestfall's life. He collapsed to the ground in disbelief and horror as his hands and legs grew weak. Then, he suddenly thought of what Andrews said earlier. He turned to the young man immediately. Andrews barely reacted to the sudden turn of events as if everything was within expectation. Dr. Artemis got up and went over. He held Andrews's hand and begged, Young man, please save Master Crestfall. The scene shocked every one of the Crestfalls. Under everyone's astonished gazes, Andrews said calmly, You are the one who claimed you had the experience and were more qualified to save Master Crestfall. Now that Master Crestfall's life is hanging by a thread, you want me to clean up your mess for you. Dr. Artemis was deeply embarrassed. I was blind before. Please forgive me and save Master Crestfall. Fine. Andrews went up to the bed and took a glance at the dying Master Crestfall. Master Crestfall had saved his master before, so he could not just let the man die. Otherwise, his master would strangle him to death. Andrews turned to Dr. Artemis and said, Needles. Dr. Artemis opened his bag and searched for the right needle. Harry went up to Dr. Artemis asked under his breath. Drive. Artemis, are you really going to let him do acupuncture for my father? We have no other choice. Doctor. Artemis pulled out a roll of brand new needles and handed them to Andrius. Andrius shook his head. It's not enough. Doctor. Artemis was stunned. In acupuncture, we usually use 36 needles. Before Drive, Artemis could finish, Andrius said, Master Crestfall is already having his foot in the grave. I have to use the legendary Hades pin to save him. Doctor. Artemis was once again flabbergasted and stiffened. The term, Hades pin, was like a clap of thunder echoing in his ears. As the famous doctor in Samaria, Drive, Artemis knew what exactly the Hades pin method was. It was one of the lost techniques in acupuncture, practiced by ancient doctors. It was said that the method could save anyone who was dying. Unfortunately, ancient scriptures only recorded pieces and bits of the method. No one knew what or how to use the Hades pin method on a dying patient. That was why he was shocked to hear that the young man wanted to save Master Crestfall's life with the Hades pin method. Doctor. Artemis pulled out another roll of silver needles and handed them to Andrius swiftly. Andrius's hands moved at lightning speed. He held more than a dozen needles in his hands and poked them into Master Crestfall's body accurately. The scene left Drive, Artemis' jaw open. Acupuncture demanded high precision and an exact amount of strength from the performer. Each position was different, and each needle must be poked with a different amount of strength. The demand for concentration and the control of strength from a doctor was extremely rigid. Some experienced doctors could perform it as well, but at most with 3 needles at a time. The young man, however, used more than 10 needles at once. It was a miracle. Then, something even more shocking followed. Andrius' hands were soft but precise. The needles poked Master Crestfall's body and wavered elegantly. From an amateur's perspective, Andrius simply moved his fingers around the needles quickly. However, from a professional's perspective, Andrius's hand movements contained a lot of high precision and technical movements. Master Crestfall's twitching slowly calmed down. The Crestfalls were not doctors, hence their plain surprise. From their perspective, Andrius was simply poking needles into Master Crestfall's body at will, yet it worked miracles. Master Crestfall's breathing slowly recovered and his pale face once again flushed healthily. A while later, Master Crestfall woke up. His sons and his granddaughter went up to him and asked him with concern. Father, how are you? Are you all right? Grandfather, how are you feeling? Do you want something to eat? Looking at his family, Master Crestfall knew he was still alive. He then saw Dr. Artemis by the side and realized what just happened. He forced a smile on his face and thanked the man. Thank you, Drive, Artemis, Master Crestfall, I am not that capable of saving your life. It is he who saved you. Doctor. Artemis pointed at Andrius with the utmost respect. Andrius, ha ha ha, I received your master's letter half a month ago, and I have been waiting for your arrival since then. Master Crestfall sat up and said happily, thank God you are here, or else I would have had a date with the Grim Reaper. Master Crestfall, you are too kind. I will give you a prescription for some medicine. Take it regularly and you will recover soon, Andrius said with a smile. Great, great. Master Crestfall called the butler to bring over a pen and paper. Andrius wrote down a prescription and gave it to Dr. Artemis. Dr. Artemis, I will leave Master Crestfall's recovery in your hands. I believe you will put your medical skills to good use. Dr. Artemis knew Andrius was trying to save his face. He nodded and agreed. Okay, I will. Thank you, young man. Please excuse me. Dr. Artemis took the prescription respectfully and deeply to Andrius before he left. The scene left the Crestfalls stunned. Harry looked at Andrius curiously. You've been to medical school? Andrius shook his head. I've only learned some healing skills in the mountains. Tisk. Harry clicked his tongue scornfully at Andrius's answer. He thought Andrius was at least a medical student. To his surprise, Andrius claimed that he learned his medical skills in the mountains. Meaning it was pure luck that he healed Master Crestfall. Pure luck. A man with luck and nothing else was useless. He could not be this lucky for the rest of his life. How could such a man marry his princess? Impossible. Impossible. While Harry was thinking of a way to send Andrius away, Master Crestfall looked up at Luna. Luna, now that you've met Andrius, you two should get registered as soon as possible. The Wolf's Bride Chapter 4. Harry's expression changed drastically as he said, Father, I don't think it's appropriate. Master Crestfall frowned while looking at Harry in dissatisfaction. Andrius is the most suitable candidate. Any objections? Harry's expression turned bitter. He said in a small voice, "Father, I thought both Luna and Andrius just met, and they haven't got the chance to know each other. Isn't this arrangement a little too reckless? Register first, they have all the time in the world going forward to get to know each other." As the master of the house, Belarus' words had absolute power. He added in an authoritative tone, "It is decided." Luna remained silent throughout the negotiation. She had a glance at Andrius, signaling him to make a move. Andrius immediately caught on to her gaze. Master Crestfall interrupted Andrius and said strongly, "Andrius, we are family now. You can just call me grandfather." Grandfather. Andrius did not know whether to laugh or cry at the man's suggestion. He continued, "I think the registration of marriage is a little inappropriate. Marriage should be based on mutual affection. Andrius, don't worry, Luna is a good girl. She always listens to me. As long as you don't reject her, she will marry you." Master Crestfall interrupted Andrius once more. "Father, Andrius already said it's inappropriate. Why do you still force?" "Shut your mouth." Master Crestfall glared at Harry. He then turned back to Andrius with a kind look and continued, "Andrius, what are you worried about? You can just tell me." Andrius stammered. He quickly came up with an excuse and said, "Grandfather, registration of marriage takes time and requires a lot of procedures. I'm not prepared. It's really inappropriate to do it now." "You don't need that at all." Master Crestfall waved his hand and said, "I can have my people get the documents for you. All you need to do is be there and sign your name. If you are worried that you don't have a proper career, I can give you 5% of New Moon Corporation's shares, but you have to marry Luna right now." Master Crestfall's words shocked everyone like a bolt of lightning. Everyone was stunned and speechless. 5% of the company's shares. The old man had lost his mind. When the other family members regained their composure, they tried to talk Master Crestfall out of it. "Father, the company shares are not something you can simply give away. It's even more inappropriate than getting married on the spot." Master Crestfall has made up his mind. He said firmly, "As long as I'm still alive, I call the shots here in this family." Andrius was shocked by the old man's firm attitude. What made him so eager to marry his granddaughter off? Why did he even consider offering 5% of his company shares? Andrius simply could not wrap his head around the situation. Had Andrius not agreed with Luna to call off the marriage, he might have been moved by the old man's determination and sincerity. Just when Andrius was about to think of another way to reject the old man's offer, Luna suddenly said, "Grandfather, whatever you say, I'll listen." Andrius was surprised by Luna's sudden change of heart. What made her agree? She insisted on calling off the marriage earlier. Master Crestfall chuckled. "Look, Andrius, even Luna agrees to marry you now. You don't have to worry about anything else." Andrius was stuck for words. With that said, Andrius and Luna were officially married an hour later. Andrius still could not believe what just happened. "I'm married." If the news reached the Western Front Line and got into his lycanthrope's ears, they would be utterly astonished by how casual and frivolous their Wolf King handled his marriage. Looking at Andrius and Luna standing side by side, Master Crestfall smiled. "Luna, now that you are officially Andrius' wife, you can bring him back to your place. My biggest wish now is to see your children while I'm still alive. You two better work hard and make it happen. Don't make me wait too long." Luna blushed. The newlyweds left Crestfall Manor and got into Luna's Ferrari. Looking at Luna, Andrius asked, "Ms. Crestfall, why the sudden change of mind?" "Well, it's all a ruse," Luna said coldly. Andrius was surprised. "Did you agree because of your grandfather's 5% of company shares?" "You're right." Luna was being honest with Andrius. "My father is the eldest son of the family. He should be next in line to inherit everything, but my second uncle has been holding him back. With the extra 5%, we will have more power on the board. That is why I need you to fake the marriage and pretend to be my husband." Luna looked at Andrius with her crystal clear eyes. "My grandfather isn't healthy anymore, so I hope you can play along and keep this a secret from him. In 3 to 4 months, I will find an excuse and get a divorce. I will compensate you handsomely so that you won't have to worry for the rest of your life." Andrius simply smiled and shrugged at Luna's supposedly flawless plan. He was not overly bothered. He came here under his master's orders anyway, so he did not mind playing along with Luna's plan. After all, it would be over in 3 to 4 months. Andrius nodded. Roger. His compliance made Luna look at him differently. Even her frosty attitude warmed up. She stepped on the accelerator and sprinted away from Crestfall Manor. Luna's mansion was located at Dreams Waterfront. Property copyright of Noveldrama.org. The place had some of the most expensive real estate in the entire city. Those who could afford to buy a property at Dreams Waterfront were either powerful or rich. There was a 2-story mansion at the prime location of Dreams Waterfront. The fiery red Ferrari drove into the front porch steadily. Luna slid her slender legs out of the car. "This is my house." Luna went into the living room and sat down on the couch leisurely. She looked at Andrius and said, "Since you are going to stay here for a while, let's lay down some house rules." The Wolf's Bride Chapter 5. Rule number 1. I have OCD. You have to keep the house clean at all times, and you are prohibited from smoking in my house. Rule number 2. There are a lot of expensive things in my house. Do not touch them. Rule number 3. Your room is on the first floor, mine's on the second. Without my permission, you are not allowed to go up there, not even stepping on the first step of the stairs. Luna looked at Andrius with her beautiful eyes and said indubitably, "Understand, Mr. Andrius Moonshade." Andrius's eyes flickered helplessly as his lips twitched a little. He grumbled in his heart, "Are all the rich ladies in the city this difficult to deal with?" However, he still nodded and agreed to Luna's terms. Luna breathed a sigh of relief. She got up and headed to the stairs. Before she went upstairs, she turned around and reminded Andrius, "And we are only pretending to be husband and wife. You still have the right to date and search for your true love, but you cannot let anyone in the family know, including me." As she went up the stairs, her slender and beautiful legs, wrapped in a pair of black stockings, appeared in Andrius's line of sight. Her legs were a gift from God. Perfect, slender, straight. Even a gentleman like Andrius could not help but sneak a few more glances at her legs. After she disappeared from his sight, Andrius started to unpack in his room. He then lay on the spacious and comfortable bed and pulled out his customized smartphone to deal with military affairs. Before he left the headquarters at Western Frontline, he had arranged for his right-hand man to take over the daily affairs, but he still had to make decisions for important matters since he was the Wolf King. When the last assignment was completed, Andrius looked out of the window. The moon hung in the dark sky like a mirror, shedding its brilliance over the skyscrapers of the city. It was late. Andrius put his phone down and wanted to get some sleep. Suddenly, his sharp senses picked up the presence of an uninvited figure outside the house. The dark figure shuttled across the shadows swiftly and dashed up to the second floor. Andrius went out of his room and headed straight for the second floor. When he arrived at the second floor parlor, the dark silhouette ambushed him. Andrius narrowed his eyes and locked onto the target. He dished out a palm strike at the dark shadow, pushing him to the wall. The silhouette hit the wall but managed to regain his balance. With a kick against the wall, the dark shadow darted himself at Andrius once more with his hands aiming for the weak points. The whole set of movements was precise and deft as if he was a tiger launching himself at its prey. Andrius said without haste, "Too slow." With that, he darted forward like a panther and attacked the dark shadow head-on. Thud. A brief clash later, the dark silhouette was sent flying onto the balcony. Right before the silhouette could regain his balance and prepare for another round of attack, Andrius said leisurely, "Are you done fooling around, Noir? Or are you itching for a beating?" Andrius went over to the dark shadow and peered down at him from a condescending angle. Under the soft moonlight, the dark silhouette was revealed to be a brown-skinned man with a slender physique. The man scratched his head awkwardly and chuckled. Wolf King. The man's codename was Black Wolf, also nicknamed Noir. He was the captain of the Shadow Wolves, the personal guards to the Wolf King. Andrius glanced at Noir. "What are you doing here?" Noir said, "Wolf King, the headquarters intercepted classified information from the enemies. The principals beyond the Western Frontline are still eyeing us and they have sent the Cyclops to infiltrate our land. An emergency meeting was called, and I got a mission to protect you." "To protect me?" Andrius found it hilarious. He then answered in a domineering and arrogant manner, "No one in the world can hurt me." He sounded proud and confident. Noir knew how strong Andrius was. Nevertheless, he was already sent here by the higher-ups, so he said, "Wolf King, you've been killing enemies in the Western Frontline for years. The way you do things might not fit well with the city lifestyle. I can stay by your side and help you deal with your daily affairs." Andrius pondered. "This is the mainland, not the Western Frontline. Don't call me Wolf King. Yes, sir. Knowing that Andrius agreed for him to stay, Noir was over the moon. Just leave for now. This is Luna Crestfall's house, so don't simply come up to the second floor. Huh, Noir was baffled. Andy, you are the Wolf King that commands 1,000,000 lycanthropes. Are you really going to marry that Luna Crestfall to repay the favor? It's the old man's idea. What can I do? Andrius sighed helplessly. It will be over in 3 to 4 months anyway. Luna said she would get a divorce after that. All right, I'll be going now. See ya, Andy. Noir leapt off the rail and disappeared. Andrius turned around. Just when he was about to go back downstairs, he spotted the clothing rack and the sexy bra on the floor. They were undoubtedly Luna's. Noir must have knocked over the clothing rack when he fell earlier, hence the bra on the floor. Andrius bent over, picked the bra up, and wanted to hang it back on the rock. Suddenly, he sensed a dangerous gaze at him from his back. He turned around and saw Luna with a taser, glaring at him coldly. What the hell? How awkward could this be? Andrius stammered, well, I can explain. BZZT. Luna turned on the baton taser. An angry and embarrassed voice sounded, startling even the resting birds in the trees outside. You pervert, get the hell out.